This is the Hayes Pantry podcast, where good food meets good vibes. Let's talk about health that feels good, food that nourishes, products that are toxin-free, and the small changes that make a big difference. Because real wellness starts with what's real. And welcome to the very first episode of the Hayes Pantry podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Rashmi Hayes. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and the founder of Hayes Pantry. I work with overwhelmed professionals who feel they have lost control of their health. I help them get back their focus, get back their energy so they can live the life they want rather than the life they're living. And I do this all through the power of real, nourishing food and simple lifestyle shifts that reduce the stresses, especially stressors like harmful chemicals in everyday products. I often get asked what food I buy, what products do I use, so I thought I would start a podcast and share all my tips and recommendations and also talk about what it actually means to be happy and healthy and how we can achieve that in today's world with all its challenges. And whenever I can, I'm also going to have conversations with people and brands who also champion natural ingredients or materials. I'll be talking to small business owners, suppliers and makers who care deeply about quality, integrity, and helping people live well in a modern world. And today I am delighted to be able to host one of those conversations. I'm joined by Maureen and Pamela, two sisters who turn their frustration with uncomfortable period products into a mission to create something better. They are the founders of The Pad Company, a brand that's all about comfort, care, and making honest, open conversations around periods totally normal. So, Maureen and Pamela, welcome.
Hi.
It's lovely to have you on here. Thank you so much for joining me. So, tell me about The Pad Company. What do you make?
Sure. Let me start with try an introduction about us and how we came about the Pad Company. So my name is Maureen, and this is
Pamela. We're sisters.
as you can see. So yes, we are the two women team behind the Pad Company. We come from two completely different worlds. I come from 10 years of IT consultancy background, where pretty much focusing on strategy, processing, and product improvement and solutioning. Whereas Pamela here is more focused into finance and management. She got 15 years of experience. Of course, none of us are product experts or coming from a feminine hygiene product side of things, except for we are the end users. And it's also challenging to think about where we don't have experience in retail or e-commerce, given that we are pretty bad at social media, which is pretty much the era of promoting everything in social media. But the advantage we had was curiosity, knowing that not knowing a product, that we started to ask a lot of questions, reaching out to supplier and understanding that we have a problem and going into a solution of what we need to do, of course, brought us here right now. And what we actually do, we have a bamboo product, a feminine hygiene made out of bamboo fabric, which we will talk in detail about it, but yeah, that's what we actually do.
Okay, that's great. And wow, how phenomenally talented and skilled both of you are. So you're bringing all of that background experience into starting a new business. Do you find that you're drawing on all of those skills?
Our skills are quite limited when you go into a new industry, even though there are certain transferable skills. But like Maureen said, it's all about learning from the beginning. Yes, great, we have an idea, and the idea came from constant, unfiltered conversations between us and our frustration about the pads that we currently used or using, and they about not holding up, why they're irritating on us, and why do they not make it any better? So those are the conversations brought us to the idea. Whether we had the skill, it was for later for us to discover on the journey of starting a business and building the business. But it was exciting time. what we also needed was finding out more information and understanding whether other women shared the same frustration as us. And interestingly, we did an online questionnaire to figure out how many people share the same feeling. About 70% of women shared the same frustration. So from then onward, we started building the business. The skills came in later, I would say, some of the skills.
Yeah, I definitely hear you, because as a, relatively new business myself, it is a very steep learning curve in terms of all the plates you have to keep going at the same time. So yeah, I can definitely empathize. But that's great that, this fascinating how we're all driven by an idea of wanting to improve something and make things better. And it's this area of female hygiene, sanitary products, period products, whatever you want to call it, it's been a tricky area up till now because, culturally, people don't like talking about this subject. And I'm definitely of the view that, no subject should be taboo, because you can't solve anything if you can't name the problem. So I mean, you said you had that online survey and you had so many people respond. Have you find any trickiness about people not wanting to talk about this so much?
That it depends on the age that we found. But like you said, if the problem is not addressed or someone hasn't raised their voice, it's quite difficult for another person to raise their opinion. What we didn't want to do is we don't want to, we wanted to work together, we wanted to introduce a business, but we don't want it to be another makeup product or any other product that's not going to add value. So our frustration was our own real frustration. We wanted to resolve it. But before that, we wanted to validate whether this is a problem with the others. So online questionnaire, when we reached out, people were more open to talk about it. And there are a lot of information that we were able to gather rather than perhaps when we interviewed them face to face. And we were able to reach about 100 to 150 people through online form. We used simple Google form and we built our own questionnaire, and things as the comfort, the fabric, and pricing, everything. But when the responses came back, one of the shocking discovery was less people were aware of what's in the pad. And that's when we realized we needed more of creating awareness, not just creating a product, creating awareness along with the product.
Yeah, I think I can also add something with the questionnaire. What shocked us most was 150 people, more than 70% of them still use pads, even though we thought that there were diluted. There's a lot of options available in the market currently. And given that, people still use pads because that comes to with a convenient where they can use disposable, don't have to clean it, which also gave us an idea about women just don't stick to one option and they prefer to have a couple of other options. For me personally, when I started to work from home, things have changed and pad came in very handy where I don't have to think about it like, oh, how long it's going to hold. But that also came with the frustration where I started to test on things. Where can this hold? Is it reliable? They have these options available in the market, maybe like biodegradable product. So it was interesting to see and compare. Your opinion matters. And we do have other women who experience the same. But as women, we compromise. We kind of, yes, it's protection. So let me just compromise on comfort. It's okay to have that. So it is interesting to get that information out of that questionnaire.
And
Yeah, that's really interesting because there is such an emphasis on washable products, and I mean, there are so many products out there, the cups, the pants, and there's tampons as well, of course. But it's interesting that women definitely still are using the disposable pads because you're right, they are convenient. I mean, I am sure lots of women like me kind of just use a variety of products depending on what they're doing, because I know, I was going up to London just last Friday, staying overnight with a friend and going to a concert. And I chose to use your pads, because when you're on the move and on the go and you're not in your familiar environment and you don't know what toilets you're going to be able to use, it's and I think it's okay to use that variety, because otherwise you can't, you just restrict your movements. We know that in so many other countries that women and girls, they just stay at home when they're on their period, and we have luxury in this country where we have different options, but we don't want to necessarily restrict our lives. I mean, if we have the option to stay at home and chill out and relax, then we'll take it, especially during our period. But we don't always have that option. So
true, very true.
yeah. So I'm interested in because I met you, Pamela, I think, a few months ago. It was at an International Women's Day business event by Digital Boost. So I'm going to give them a mention as well, because that's where we met, at one of their Digital Boost events. And I remember talking to you about your product and so on. And that was when I first piqued my interest, because I had been looking for other businesses to collaborate with who are producing chemical-free products. And it really interested me, talking to you and also listening to you both today, about what was the process in making a chemical-free pad that is also effective. Because I'm 49, I'm perimenopausal, heavy bleeding, and I've tried lots of different pads, and yours just work. It's amazing, because I've tried so many where it's, they just doesn't last very long, let's put it that way. But so what was that kind of inventing process, or how did that work?
Okay, I think we can go back a couple of years back to when the idea formation came. So remember the chats that we had, and we normally stop. Okay, we women, we sort of vent the frustration and then we stopped. And when we decided we should do something about it, it's about let's test the products that currently in the UK before we march into completely inventing. Maybe there is a product. And we ordered so many different brands, and what we wore them, we tested them, we actually took them apart to see what's in there. And shockingly, what we discovered was most of them, they call them woven and soft and safe pads are made of plastic. So non-woven material is plastic fiber that threads so much. It feels like a fabric, but it's not. Majority of the brands do use them. But then on the other hand, there are some biodegradable and organic pads out there. They are heading in the right direction, but they are mainly ticking the box of environmentally friendly. It doesn't really hold the functionality we were expecting. So what we needed, our motto is skin health and comfort. So we're not compromising comfort for women. So comfort with functionality. What we saw in the market was comfort or functionality. So we need to bring both of them together. Then from that onwards, we started our journey to find the right suppliers and finding out the fabrics, what works best. So some of the fabric has to be well absorbent and it should work in colder climate, so give you a feel of dry and soft. Maybe in a humid climate, it need to be more non-sticky and sweaty, which we all know when you wear a pad that it's just sweaty because it's the plastic in your skin. So when we started to take one by one, we realized it is the first layer that touches your skin, makes a huge difference. So we ended up discovering bamboo fiber or bamboo fabric. So we ordered samples for bamboo fabric. And from there, we designed, Maureen and I went back to the drawing board, designed the pads, how it should fit, how it should stay in your in your panties, and what sort of functionality it should offer. So we had leak guard, we had absorbent core, and all of these things that offers a superior product to current market, what we have in the market.
And I would say to add to it, the question you asked about chemical free, it is really difficult to completely come out of or expect a product to be chemical free. But this is where we thought bamboo was the best option for us to go. And ours is not just bamboo, it is organic, certified organic bamboo, where eliminates the process or the issues that women are currently suffering having chemicals in their period product, which is it's sensitive down there, and you have to think those processes as well. So when we are choosing a fabric, where, like Pamela mentioned, the first layer should be really important, and that's where our focus went on, where bamboo was the top first contender to win, where especially organic. There are bamboo pads that's available, which are, this is where the idea about purity come in place, where everybody thinks purity means white. It has to be white. Period product should be white. So it's bleached. It's chemically bleached. There are products that are not chemically bleached, but most of the products that's currently available in the market, to get that refined white, pristine white, it's bleached. So that's where we are a little bit different to the current market product.
When he's setting up, so once we designed our pad, we now reach out to someone who can actually produce them. And they also met our ethos, that share our same values. So that's one process of having a pad design, the product design. So the rest, now this is where more like the IT knowledge needed, where we have to actually pick a brand name. Okay, great. That took us a few months. And then after that, you find a domain name. Okay, that domain is no longer available. So let's go back to a different brand name. Then you have Google accounts set up, and you're trademarking, and then setting up a company, banking system. Very interesting, I must say. And it allowed us to be very focused, and had to be done in a timely manner. So things that we were like, you can't just because you're running your own business, you can't relax and say, oh, I'll do it later, because everything has an impact. You are dealing with different time zone with your suppliers, your manufacturer, your labs, and you have currency transactions that are happening in different currency. So all of this were learning curve, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And finally, we had a product in a hand, and we're quite proud the fact we were able to offer women what we actually offer right now.
I can add to it as well. It did take us more than an year and a half to design the product, what we are currently. So as you mentioned, we're glad to hear that it's actually worked for you and you find it suitable. It is for us to think, okay, compromising on certain things was not that we are going to compromise. We make sure that secure, that means protection, absorbency, and also comfort. That three things we were not going to compromise. Safety, yeah. And the accidents, the leaks that gave me nightmare, the embarrassing moment, where we have to think those to put in place. And we were not going to cut short and say we're going to take this to the market. We wanted to make sure that we tried everything and it worked for us. As you can say, it's 1.5 years, a lot of period for us to try on.
So I think it's time that we get out one of your pads. I've got packs here. I've got the day packs, which I've been using, and also the nighttime ones. I'm going to open one up now. So in terms of the designing it, so you have the suppliers who actually make this pad, and there's a toing and froing in terms of saying, well, this works well, this doesn't work well, tweak this, produce another pad, we'll try it. So a lot of backwards and forwards like that, trial and error.
Yep.
There's so many layers.
Pads are already in the market. I mean, a lot of women are using it. It's not something that we invented as new. So we had a little bit head start. The good thing that we had was women also started to comment. We started to read on competitor markets to see what their frustration is. So the traditional pads that it's currently available, or most popular ones, we will look at the design and see what would work and what will not work, and then work with the supplier to see what design works better for us. And like as you mentioned, I got a pad here too, so you probably can't see it. What we have differently, you might not see it in the current market, is those side grooves that we have. which
Yeah.
detached and being attached to the actual pad is our lead guard, which is a difference. So as you can see, the color is also beige for us, and I will go through the specific feature that we can talk about. But the wings and the lead guard is a special design that we have, which if you remember a normal pad, if you take it and it has a wing, it tend to if it's full and you're overflowing in a pad, it tend to go through the side, and that's where the leak happens. Now the detached piece means it's contained in, even if you had an accident, it's a waterproof material, so it holds in place, also gives you that secure extra layer of secure that it's not going to bleed out of the pad, so you have a chance to go and change it on time.
Yeah, I want to say that I want to commend you on that, because so this is yours to talk about these strips down the side are the lead guards, because that's something I found whenever I've tried the natural, bamboo pads. They are quite bad for leaking, whereas the kind of mainstream plasticky brands, I don't know what they use, but they just don't feel right, very plasticky, and they often also have some fragrance to them as well, which
Yes,
I mean, I don't even like I don't like the fragrance, and also it's not good from to have that contact with some kind of fragrance to your skin. So,
definitely.
but with your pads, all of this top bit is kind of skin friendly, is that right? Because I know on the back it's still a layer of plastic. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's what waterproof material is really a must for us because we don't want to compromise on protection. And
Yeah.
that's where two elements that is not, we are very transparent about it. Whoever reach out to us, we do talk about it. It's on our website too. It is not biodegradable yet. Well, we are working on that matter, but currently it's not biodegradable. So the first layer is organic bamboo, and the wings, as we can see that, and the backing is waterproof material, which is not biodegradable. Also, the absorbent core, which is currently people are debating about it, whether it is biodegradable or not, but we don't want to confuse people to say it is biodegradable. That element is yet to be confirmed, but that's the most common, very protective element for you to absorb it, a quick absorbency. It's not just absorbing. When women we bleed like in different ways. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's just pours out. So it need to hold and it needs to be very quick and absorbent. And that's where that comes in. And as you mentioned about the smell, Rashmi, bamboo is naturally gives you that antibacterial, it has that antibacterial property. And it also fights with the smell, which antibacterial means bacteria as the cause of smell. So that actually use it. And another feature that we have is the onion chip, the stripy green looking thing inside the pad.
Yeah.
They call
Yeah.
it the onion chip. What it does actually to fights with inflammation, and also it fights the smell. So it releases negative ion, which usually you would read or you would know. It's mostly available in beaches where it calms you down and making sure that you are in a very good mood, uplifted. So it's a similar process that you have. The negative ion kind of helps you down there to eliminate the smell naturally. We are not using any chemicals or fragrance there, and also helps to battle the inflammation there. And that is the only additional, a unique feature that we have. Also, bamboo takes on most of the heat of the first layer. So that kind of helps you. So this is where our pads, if you're using for a longer period, it helps you. It doesn't give you that smell. And it's also, you don't have to worry about blood being there and you have to worry about changing it right away. It gives you that time. We are not saying it's going to hold for 12 hours. We are
No.
saying it gives you that time to change at your terms.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that all sounds amazing. It sounds like there's so many different literal layers to it, basically.
Yeah.
So in terms of disposing, it's disposing in the norm. You just wrap it up and dispose in the normal way, in sanitary bins or at home with the normal rubbish.
Correct. So you could dispose our pads from the wrapper. I mean, you wrap it with the wrapper that it comes in and
Yeah.
use waste bin. You should never flush them, even the ones that out there claimed biodegradable, organic. We should never flush them. We are, like Maureen said, we are very transparent about we're not totally biodegradable. We do have plastic packaging, we have plastic wrapper and the back waterproof material. So we will update as and we are still discovering and exploring about better environmentally friendly material, totally changing the pad. As and when we go through our journey, we will keep updating our guidance for disposal.
Yeah, I guess it's the challenge because you're balancing the effectiveness of the product versus because naturally something's biodegradable means that it will naturally break down. So it's a challenge for sanitary products.
Exactly. You have to make sure it is sanitized and the product stays sanitized. The packaging need to be very good. The individual wrappers need to be probably because we have tried some biodegradable package wrappers and they're brittle, so it doesn't really hold very
So
well.
we did think about a practical scenario where I personally use those individual wrapper that comes in to wrap the pad again properly to dispose it. So
Yeah.
when we were trying biodegradable material, when it's brittle, you get really frustrated. And what you do is you have to use a lot of toilet paper to rub it up and then chuck it. And it doesn't give you, means there are scenarios that I travel to certain places where you can't dispose these pads and you might have to wrap it up and take it in your bag or something that you can carry and tow it in proper places, which has to be properly wrapped. And this is where the wrapper comes into place. Doesn't mean that we are still exploring. We are working with research labs and suppliers to find what material that would work better in these kind of scenarios. We are not eliminating, and also like Pamela mentioned, our bags which comes in, well, I'm very proud that we designed this or we came up with the design. But as you can see, it's a resealable packaging. And UK regulation, you have to have certain standard to pack these. So biodegradable material was not an option at that time when we were exploring it. But we are working with companies to come up with maybe a recycled materials that we can reuse it to be more sustainable. But yeah, we are working with suppliers for this.
Okay, yeah, because I did note that this bag, because it is foil lined and so on, is that because you have to make it in a particular way for these kind of products?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it comes under feminine hygiene or well, you can say health and safety materials. So you
Yeah.
have to health and hygiene, I should
And
say. Yeah.
it's the it keeps the moisture out and the sanitary standard. It meets the sanitary standard.
Because
Right. Okay.
because it has also has a very long shelf life. That means if you have any biodegradable material does not have long shelf life, will not hold that standard, or we can't meet that standard.
And I think it's probably for us more so because it's a new brand and we don't know what's our turnovers like, how many people are going to buy it. Once we have a lot more turnover than people buying, then we know it's the shelf life. It doesn't need to be in the shelf for too long, so we can take that risk of much more biodegradable material because we know within 2 months it'll be used up. So
Yeah.
these are just general challenges for smaller businesses.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up because this is one of those things because there's so much pressure to be environmentally friendly, biodegradable, recyclable, and all of those things. But to maintain the quality of the product and integrity of the product, there are these other factors to weigh up for all businesses, really. But
Yeah.
it's great to know that, you know, what you set out to do and that it's the aim is to keep improving as and when you're in a position to do so.
Definitely. That's one. We have met few of the smaller businesses and we were talking about it. What we realized is it's a journey. We have to get to that destination. And when you're starting a business, you're not going to have everything laid out to be environmentally friendly and biodegradable. But we can't do that alone. We need everyone's support, people, the consumers, the suppliers, the products availability. So the product that we were mainly looking to replace. It's a super absorbent core, which Maureen says is debatable whether it's biodegradable or not. There is a product. It's interesting when we reached out to the lab, they were like, it is not yet used in sanitary products because there's not much demand for it. So unless as women and end users, we start demanding, there's not going to be a change. And women, I think I always say, we just sacrifice ourselves first. We compromise comfort just because we wanted to do, I don't know, good, or maybe it need to be environmentally friendly. So I was like, let's start with us and let's give the comfort for the women, and then slowly we'll change over.
Yeah. Well, what an amazing story. That's fantastic. And, and I can't stress from my perspective how important it is just to kind of reduce those chemicals in the product, especially in that part of the body, contact with the skin, because it's well documented now, the number of chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis and the impact that can have on our hormones and so on. So I'm definitely all for reducing that harmful chemical exposure, and at the same time having the option to use this kind of product, because it's not about trying to be perfect. I mean, I do use other period products as well, but they do there's a time and a place, because everything has pros and cons in terms of how you use it. So but for the kind of disposable pad, it just works so well. I can't, it's been amazing. And then I want to share as well, like especially in the nighttime one, because nighttime can be a nightmare, as you know, with leaks and so on. And I was just super impressed. I'm going to open up one of these night pads, because I don't know if any other products do this, but the bottom bit down here that has these well-placed kind of sticky bits that you can press back into your panties, and that they really stay in place. I mean, that when you're kind of rolling around in sleep, that's such an important feature. So yeah, I mean, well done on that. That works really well. Was that something particular that you had thought about, keeping these in place all night?
Definitely. We have, I mean, this is not a completely new design. We have looked at few other brands, but making sure, once again, the wings are not overflowing. That was one of the features. So we have to have a different material for that. But not many products, like you said, not many have that feature. And some like it, like we side sleepers. So we were like, yes, we definitely need that sort of a security.
Yeah.
It's also difficult. I think we did have quite a lot of engagement on our Meta platform, where women would ask questions because they were not used to the design. So they find it odd, why is this design? And especially our promotional materials. So it is really difficult to explain certain women. So for me, especially, I'm a side sleeper, like Pamela mentioned, it has to be a wider back and stay in place, like you mentioned. So even for us to use, we don't need a lot of glue in there, and we only need it to be in certain way, in certain place. So it was thoughtfully designed. I would say I should give kudos to the suppliers that we work with, who would constant nagging and constant they didn't give up. They would talk with us. As you mentioned, our strip at the back, it's not just if it's a mainstream brand, you probably have seen it. It's the wings that expanding. This is actually not the wings. This is not the pad itself. It's the separate detached piece as the leak card is expanding. So we have to think about that. And the absorbency means it flows through the back for you and it won't leak through. Even if you accidentally leak, it's going to be on the wings for you. But again, I wouldn't say this is a perfect design. We're still improving. There's people who are working with us, should thank them to give or confident enough to reach out and believe in us to say, yes, your pad this has happened to you. Are you guys thinking about it? Or I need narrow back, or do you guys have a different size? I don't need this big. So especially for teenage daughters, mothers, we have a lot of mothers reaching out to teenage daughters. So they wanted a little bit in between size. So we are exploring, we are expanding, thinking about expanding our product line too. But currently, yes, we have 3 sizes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I know you have a mini size as well.
Yes.
The mini, day pad, and the night pad. So those are your three sizes.
Yes, mini is a very interesting thing. I was really adamant with Pamela that we should have this size because personally, for me, there are lighter moments and spotting days. So right before the period or right after the period. And for me, panty liners sometimes works well, but they also have a problem with rolling in. The
Mm,
stickiness is right in the middle, so it rolls in. For
yeah.
me, I can't say whether it's I need a full pad to use or I need a smaller pad to use. So I was struggling with it, and this works perfectly well like a panty liner and also has the absorbency. So it will take up to 10 milliliters to more than that, I believe a little bit more. So you can rely on it when you're on spotting days. And
Mm,
Or
it can,
even a lighter days. It
yeah.
works like a pad. There are times that you don't want to wear a full-on pad because it absorbs moisture, which means it's going to make you even more dry. So you wanted a smaller
yeah.
pad. But also this size and design is not in UK. So this is probably the first time we brought this in. You get panty liner, but these are pads. They got super absorbent core, and just like everything else, but it's more not for heavy days, lighter days, and quite popular among teenagers because it's thin, it fits, and it doesn't show through their clothing, basically.
Yeah. No, that's really good because you if you can avoid having the bulkiest thing in your pants, then all
Yes.
the better, right? But you don't compromise on the absorbency.
True.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. And I have to say, even though the nighttime pad is your biggest pad, but it's still not that bulky, it's definitely still very streamlined. And I think what I like most about your product is that it you've tried to make it the best that you can on all of the tick boxes. And like you said in the beginning, you've either got the struggle was before you either go for an a reasonably effective pad, but that's quite plasticky and has a fake fragrance on it, and is a mainstream. Or you go for the bamboo or better material pad, but that just doesn't absorb as well at all. Whereas you've made a product it's very slim, it's effective, it's bamboo, it doesn't leak as far as, in my use when I'm, as I said, perimenopausal heavy bleeder. I'm quite happy to identify myself as that. Um, and you recognize that you're not compromising on effectiveness and comfort, but you recognize that there's still work to do as and when the technology and the regulations and the cost and all of those challenges can be balanced out, then you can keep improving.
Correct. Yeah.
I think we should also add the organic certified
Yes,
certification.
I think you just mentioned about fragrance and chemical use. So I do want to mention bamboo. You can have different, you may have seen some white bamboo pads in UK. So
Yeah.
our one is not white. That's because it's beige. It's natural color of bamboo fiber. We don't use bleach just to maintain our the fiber's color. That's what it is. And we don't use any other chemical to give you any sort of false purity look. What one of the major thing is the bamboo fiber that we have used. It's certified. Oh, let me get this right. Oco-text. So it's spelled OEKO text. It's one of the highest standard for fabric manufacturing, and we chose that material because it's tests for safety and sustainability. So one of the safety element is checking for long list of pesticides, heavy metals, and formaldehyde. I think this we know a lot of the products in formaldehyde were cancer causing, etc. And the second bit on that certification covers sustainability. So it's ensuring how the fabric is made on environmentally friendly process. So as we know, bamboo does not really require a lot of water compared to cotton or any other things. It's a wild grass, so it grows in wild with less pesticide. And then the way you process, there's a lot more arguments about how it's processed, but the particular fabric that we use is processed on an environmentally friendly basis.
Okay, so does that certification mean that also the way that the bamboo is sourced and the other materials are sourced, it's all done from sustainable producers, and that they're all paid well, or as far as you can tell through the supply chain?
Correct. Environmentally friendly and socially responsible. That's what it stands
Okay.
for. But like I said, it was bamboo that we mainly use in our top layer, and the other ones are
Non-woven.
It's waterproof material, so we don't need certification for that. It's the bamboo that touches your skin, and that's what we're mainly concerned about.
So
Yeah.
we would whenever you create a product, especially a small business like that, or any business, no matter, whenever we claim something that we are doing, especially like we say we are organic, you have to have a backing of certification. So that's where the Ocotex certification comes into place. We can't just claim it or do it and say, oh, this is why we are doing it. We need to have a standard that we follow. And as let's say Ocotex backs for the sustainability. Sustainability comes in like very many shapes, I would say. You have to, it's okay, how much water you use in the process of cotton versus bamboo. And this is where the Ocotex certificate just says that we do come in certain standard of when we process the material.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. That's great. I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have these kind of conversations on this podcast, because you read about all of these things and you just don't know what they mean or what they involve. And so many, products have all of these claims on them, and you just, there's so much information out there. It's hard to know what to take as credible and what to believe. So thank you so much for explaining all of that. It's great to be able to talk about it and ask questions as well.
That's true. Gives us an opportunity as well to explain what we are doing.
Yeah, no, that's great. And like I said, I've been using your pads since having found out about your product, and I find them brilliant. So they're part of my period care routine, along with, as I said, I do use other products as well, but they're definitely, whenever I need a disposable pad, they're the ones that I turn to. So
Totally agree. I mean, like you said, there are moments that when we decide, are we doing the right thing? Do we know what we're doing? Are we running our business correctly? And there are moments when we get reviews from customers and we turn around and say, it's worth it. It's totally worth it when
yeah.
you get those.
That's a great feeling, isn't it, when someone validates your product.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I can't stress as well, again, going back to the way, my kind of nutrition and well-being angle, that the difference that it makes in just switching this chemical-free, or less chemical product to the kind of more harmful product that you might already be using. Because with the regulations, each product on its own probably isn't a problem, but we forget that as well as these sanitary pads, that we put a whole load of makeup and toiletries on our body. There's a whole load of potential contaminants in food and in water, and in the air that we breathe. So we forget about the totality of the chemical exposure that we face on a day-to-day basis, and that just reducing, slowly, steadily switching out these products for healthier, better quality products can reduce those stresses on your body, and it can be part of turning around your health, essentially. That's something that I did when I started this journey, from having been diagnosed with 2 autoimmune conditions. And part of my journey back to health, as well as changing the food that I was eating to eating more food, proper meals, was to reducing the stress on my body with all of these chemicals that I started reading labels and realizing, hang on a second, what is all this stuff? So, and that's when I started kind of, yeah, turning to different products and finding businesses like yours. So,
It is interesting, like you mentioned, people don't know, and we don't know what we are exposed to when it comes to chemical. Uh, Whenever we are like, our challenge currently is educating women, especially what goes in the pad. It's okay, as like you mentioned, I like to have options, and it's a choice that I would love to have. And if I'm given a choice of pads are not chemically free, then I would
Yeah.
definitely would have it.
You trust the system, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you trust the government, you trust the regulation, you trust everything, but they are not well regulated. Food and even sanitary product is not regulated well enough. So the chemicals sort of seep through in everyday product. Like you said, here and there, every little, it all adds up at the end.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Right. So, well, I mean, that I think I have certainly learned a lot about your product today and about these products generally. So, thank you so much for being with me. I think we've got a few minutes left. I always, before I let my guests go, because I'm a foodie at heart, so I love to talk about food and love eating food. So, before you go, I would like to ask. If you're both foodies at all, and if what your favorite home cooked meal or authentic cuisine is, because I would like to close by talking about how great it is to eat a good meal.
We love it. Food is everything for us. We evolved around food in our household, especially. But yeah, I would say cooking meals versus a preferred meal of bread. We had this same question last week. We're talking about what would be a cuisine that you would like to eat or you have to pick to eat rest of your life. For me personally, it's Thai. I know I just lean towards Thai because I think it's the fresh herbs, the coconut, the lime, the perfect balance of sweet and tangy, and also so spicy. But I would say the mix of Thai for every day and also my mom's Sri Lankan food for soul.
I totally agree. I love Thai food. But my mum's cooking, especially her lunch, we call it a mini buffet because she has Sri Lankan cooking. We have minimum one protein and 4 or 5 different vegetables. So it packs with all those micronutrients that we talk about. I hit my goal in one lunch, and
Yeah.
it nourishes the soul, and we look forward to having it every time when we go home.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love Thai food and Sri Lankan food as well. I'm got a South Indian heritage, so I'm if I had to pick one cuisine that if I couldn't eat anything else, then I would definitely pick my mum's South Indian home cooking for sure. And I love celebrating traditional cuisine because, like you said, it's the way that people traditionally cook, it's so packed full of nutrients that you don't even have to think about, am I missing something? Because over the course of a day or a week, you'll have ticked all the kind of protein and vitamin and nutrient requirements that you need just through eating traditional food.
Very
Definitely.
true.
Yeah. And the things that we took it for granted when we were growing up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And we look back now and think, actually, there was magic in all of that, you know.
True.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for being with me today. I think that's it for today's episode. Really appreciate your time. And thank you for sharing your story and for the work that you're doing as well to bring better quality and comfort into an area of health that's so often overlooked or not, as we've been talked about, not as well understood by everybody. I will be posting a link to the Pad Company website below, so people can click on that and go straight to your website and check out all your amazing products and give them a go. I definitely would recommend trying them out. You do some handy combination packs, don't you? So with the different sizes. So definitely try them out. Highly recommended. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure.
So, thank you everybody for tuning in. If this episode got you thinking, or if you know someone who'd benefit from hearing it, please do share it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. You can find out more about me, my work, and the ways I help people feel their best through food and lifestyle over at www.hayespantry.co.uk. I'll put a link to that website below as well. And if you're curious about how nutritional therapy could support your own health, sign up for my newsletter or book in with me for a free chemistry call, and let's have a chat. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you next time. Bye! That's all from the Hayes Pantry podcast for now. Remember, what you eat and how you live is who you become. See you next time.